That night in Berlin, I stepped onto the pitch for the last match of my life. But no one knew the final would end this way. Under the massive dome of the Olympiastadion, 80,000 breaths were being held. Sitting in the locker room, tightening the laces of my boots, I could feel that every movement might be the last. I was 34 years old, and this was the final page of my story. My fingers trembled as I thought of these hands that had served for so many years, putting on the jersey one last time. It had all begun hours earlier. My last breakfast at the hotel, the final phone call with my family, the strange emptiness I felt as I climbed onto the team bus, as if a part of my soul had already started saying goodbye. I sat quietly, gazing out the window at the streets of Berlin. Every street, every building, every face passed before my eyes, as if, for the last time. The cold concrete walls seemed to whisper, "Zinedine, this is your last chance." Neon lights lit up my face as I caught my reflection in the glass. The silver strands in my hair, the lines etched around my eyes, the tense expression on my lips, all told the story of an ending chapter. Who was this man? The boy who started in Cannes, who grew in Bordeaux, who conquered with Juventus, who became immortal in Madrid. Who was he now, standing at the final stop of his journey? Around me, I read the same determination in my teammates' faces, but their stories were still being written. When Henry stood up, I recognized the fire in his eyes, the same as in 1998, the same as in 2000. For Thierry, this was perhaps a beginning. For me, it was the end. Vieira rubbed his hands in silence. Thuram drew deep breaths. Patrick's determined look was the same one I knew from Arsenal. Lillian's calm came from years of wisdom. We all knew this wasn't just a game. It was the dream of an entire generation, the test of the visions we'd carried since childhood. But for me, it was also a farewell to football, to the pitch, to this wild world. My eyes fell on the French flag hanging on the locker room wall. Every fold in that fabric seemed to carry me back to 1998. Did I feel the same back then? At that time I was young, hungry, ready to conquer the world. Now I was weary, but wise, exhausted, but experienced. Every cell of my body carried the memories of that night. I looked up at the clock on the wall. 20:45. In 15 minutes, we would walk out. I felt the fabric of my jersey between my fingers. This blue color, this crest with the proud rooster. How many times had I worn it? 100? 110? Each time with the same pride, the same fire. As the locker room doors opened, the roar from outside pierced my soul. Allez les Bleus! The chants tore through my eardrums, but they made me stronger. That sound carried me back to that magical night in 1998. Stade de France, the mysterious case of Ronaldo, and my headers sinking into the Spanish net. But this time it was different. This time it was a farewell. Before stepping out, I looked around one last time. This locker room, these benches, these walls, all for the last time. I drew in a deep breath. That air had a smell, a mixture of sweat, detergent, adrenaline, and dreams. The smell of football. As we walked down the corridor, our footsteps echoed. I could hear the breathing of my teammates. Mabou's quick breaths, Sagnol's steady rhythm, Makalele's deep sighs. Different tempos, but all moving toward the same goal. Emerging from the tunnel, I felt the rush of air against my skin. The scent of fresh grass filled my lungs, clean, pure, full of hope. Every blade of grass under my boots clung to me, reminding me that this was the last time. Each sound of my studs hitting the turf matched the beating of my heart. 80,000 eyes were fixed on us, but I could only hear my own inner voice. This is the end, Zined. Finish it well. If you want to dive deeper into moments like this, subscribe to our channel, because these stories live here and nowhere else. The stadium's magnitude had always amazed me, but tonight it looked different. Greater, holier, almost sacred. I glanced at the stands. Thousands of French flags waving, each one carrying a story, a dream, a hope. As I began my warm-up, I listened to every muscle in my body. This 34-year-old body, how many matches had it played? How many goals? How many passes? My knees creaked, my ankles tightened, my back muscles protested, all of it part of this story. Across from us stood Italy. As we saluted them, I looked into their eyes one by one. Gattuso's fierce stare. I knew it well from Milan, ruthless, relentless, unyielding. Cannavaro's cold determination. The captain, the leader, once my teammate at Real Madrid. Buffon standing tall in goal, an epic in himself. Gianluigi, the great keeper, the great rival. Pirlo, calm and collected, scanning the field. I remembered the artistry in every pass from his feet. Totti, with that sly smile, those cunning eyes, the king of Rome himself. And then Materazzi. Marco stood there, restless, tense, with the look of a man spoiling for a fight. I knew him from Inter, tough, determined, a defender who never gave in. But that night, I had yet to learn just how cunning he could be. They were all walls, and I had to break through them. I spat into my hands, adjusted my sleeves, pulled at the waistband of my shorts, and ran onto the pitch. With every stride, the firmness of the grass gave my legs strength. When the referee blew the opening whistle, I lost all sense of time. Every touch of the ball seemed to slow the world down. The first touch, the way I brought the ball under control, how I guided it. My muscles moved on autopilot, 20 years of experience flowing through me. I can still remember how I slipped past Pirlo's press, how I absorbed Gattuso's hard challenge without losing the ball. The firmness beneath my boots, the Italians breathing down my neck, the referee's whistle cutting through the air. Everything was happening for the last time. The first half was a battle. With every pass, I felt the Italians' physical strength, Cannavaro's clean tackles, De Rossi's tight marking, Zambrotta's relentless runs, all of them players worthy of being world champions. And then, that moment came. Henry was sprinting toward the box while I watched from midfield. I knew Thierry's speed, his determination. He was my partner at Arsenal, my brother in the French team. The way he controlled the ball told me he could smell the goal. But then I saw Materazzi closing in. Marco's legs stretched dangerously close to Thierry's. In that split second, time froze. Thierry trying to break free, Marco's leg tangling with his, both of them falling together. And then the sharp sound of Elizondo's whistle cut the stadium in half. The Argentine referee's firm stride toward the penalty spot, his finger pointing at the white dot. The Italians protesting in fury. I took it all in with my eyes. Penalty. The word alone tightened my chest. This was my job. Years of training had been for these moments, preparing myself for these seconds. But no training could simulate the pressure of a World Cup final. As I walked toward the ball, I could hear my footsteps echo in the stadium. 80,000 people had forgotten how to breathe. Silence pressed on me from all directions. With every step, I felt my boots sinking into the turf, the tightening in my chest, the coolness of sweat gathering on my neck. When I picked up the ball, I felt its texture, firm, cold, yet familiar. How many penalties had this ball witnessed? How many dreams had it fulfilled? How many had it destroyed? Buffon stood on the line, his eyes locked on mine. That look. There was no fear, no taunting, only determination. I saw him clap his gloves together, shifting side to side, his muscles tense and ready. I knew him, my teammate at Juventus, a great goalkeeper, a relentless competitor. He must have been thinking, right or left, hard or soft? But in my mind, the decision was already made. Panenka, the riskiest strike at the most critical moment, because football is courage, because football is art. I placed the ball on the white spot and stepped back. Inhale, exhale. I could hear it all. The shouts of my teammates urging me on, the nervous silence of the Italians, the tense anticipation rolling down from the stand. When I began my run, the world slowed down. First step, second, third, each one like a frame in a film. I read Buffon's body language. Where would he dive? On my final step, my foot met the ball. That touch, I'll never forget it. The ball leaving my foot, the arc it took in the air, Buffon diving to his left. It all happened in a single second, but to me it felt like an eternity. The ball floated through the air, moving as if in slow motion. Buffon's astonished expression, his dive toward the left post, the metallic clang as the ball struck, tack, before rolling into the net. Goal. If this moment gave you chills too, leave a like so more people can share in the magic of football. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I simply raised my arms and looked to the sky. That goal was the summary of my career. Technical, artistic, fearless. The Panenka penalty. My own version of Antonin Panenka's legendary strike. I felt my teammates crash into me. Henry's breath hot on my cheek. Vieira's powerful arms. Thuram's booming voice. All of them were on me at once. but my mind was still there, still living that second when the ball left my foot and sailed into history. From the stands came the chants, Zizou, Zizou. That name had followed me everywhere, from the streets of Marseille to Real Madrid, from Juventus to the French national team. Always Zizou. But football is merciless, and the Italians were determined to prove why they would soon be world champions. As we took our positions for the second half, I noticed something had changed in their faces. Harder, sharper, more dangerous. Lippi's halftime words had clearly struck their mark. When I saw Pirlo's exquisite pass, my joy turned to dread. From Andrea's foot, the ball was a work of art, measured, precise, curling perfectly into Grosso's run. Fabio felt it before it even came, his movement flawless, his timing impeccable. Grosso's cross spun in the air with its own rhythm, and then Materazzi rose. Marco's powerful leap, his resolute header, the ball's sudden change of course. It flew past Barthez. I saw Fabien's shocked face, helpless, frozen. The net rippled, 1-1. The stadium erupted. Italian fans roared with deafening joy, while from our end came anxious shouts mixed with silence. The game had entered another dimension. Every duel, every tackle, every second was now critical. I watched Cannavaro's celebration. What a captain he was, what a leader. Gathering his teammates, lifting them with his voice and presence. That was Italy's strength, unity, resilience, refusal to surrender. With each passing minute, the tension suffocated the pitch. Gattuso's brutal tackles tore at my legs. Every collision left my muscles screaming. Every fall sent pain through my body. Rino's fiery eyes, his relentless charges, his never-ending runs. He never stopped. Totti's cunning play tested my nerves. His clever positioning, his sharp passes, his attempts to deceive the referee. He wasn't called the Prince of Rome for nothing. Cannavaro's flawless defending cut down every attack. His anticipation, his positioning, his dominance in the air. The Italians fought for every inch of grass as if it were life itself. And so did I. But my body was tiring. 34 years of wear, a long season's wait, the pressure of a final. My lungs burned, my muscles screamed, but my mind stayed clear. Regular time ended. Extra time began. This was the last chance. For me and for France. In the first half of extra time, our rhythm dropped. The Italians gained momentum, their pressure crushing us. Every pass grew riskier, every move slower, and then the moment came. The one that would change my life forever. It was around the 104th minute, a midfield battle, nothing unusual. Materazzi came close to me. At first I thought it was just the normal clash, hard but fair. But then Marco leaned in and whispered the words. Those words tore something deep inside me. He targeted my family, my honor, everything I held sacred. My mother, my father, my wife, my children. He dragged them all into his filth. A fire erupted within me. Flames coursed through my veins. My vision turned red. Zidane, calm down, I told myself. This is your last match. Let France be proud of you. I tried to steady my breathing, closed my eyes, opened them again. I listened to the sounds around me, the chants from the stands, the voices of my teammates, the referee's whistle. But sometimes the mind yields to the heart. Sometimes 34 years of pride collapse in 6 seconds of rage. Sometimes a man's honor outweighs the final moment of his career. When I turned, I saw Materazzi. He was smirking, that mocking, belittling smile, as if to say, "What are you going to do, old man?" And in that instant, the world vanished. There was only him and the fire inside me. Don't miss moments like this. Turn on notifications because here you'll find the true dramas written into football history. I lowered my head and charged. Time slowed, like a film in slow motion. My boots sinking into the grass, my chest tearing through the air, my muscles tensing. Everything was crystal clear. I caught Materazzi's eyes. His mocking look had vanished, replaced by shock, by fear. But it was too late. When my head struck Marco's chest, the impact was brutal. I felt the vibration through my bones, the shock shooting up my skull. He crumpled to the ground, blades of grass scattering into the air. Around us, players froze, stunned, silent. The referee came running. I saw Elizondo's hurried steps, his resolute face, and then the red card. It waved in the air, moving in slow motion. 80,000 breaths stopped. The world froze. From the stands, a deafening silence. My teammates' faces twisted in disbelief, Italian protests rising, all of it happening at once, but to me, it stretched into eternity. Thuram rushed to me. In Lillian's eyes, I saw heartbreak. His look seemed to ask, "Why, Zinedine? Why?" Henry came too, and on Thierry's face there was nothing but sorrow. As I walked off, I couldn't raise my head. I couldn't face 80,000 eyes filled with disappointment. I couldn't bear to see the French flags through the haze of shame. Was this how it would end? 34 years of my career, reduced to a moment of anger? Entering the tunnel, I felt like the loneliest man in the world. My footsteps echoed, my breathing rang in my ears, my heartbeat pounded. Everything was so sharp, yet so distant. Each step carried me back to that cold locker room, the chill of the walls, the harsh neon lights, the empty benches. All of it, one last time. When the door shut behind me, the silence was crushing. I was alone. My jersey heavy on my back, my boots tight on my feet, my body drained. Everything real, yet surreal. I didn't want to hear the sound of the penalty shootout from the television, but I had no choice. Each kick was torture. Pirlo stepped up first, calm, composed, slotting it into the corner beyond Barthez. 1-0 Italy. Wiltord replied. David's determined stride, his powerful shot. Buffon beaten. 1-1. De Rossi, focused, measured into the net. 2-1 Italy. Abidal. Eric tense but precise, his strike squeezing past Buffon. 2-2. Del Piero, Alessandro's experience, his shot curling in. Barthez helpless. 3-2 Italy. Sagnol, Willie calm, clean strike, leveling again. 3-3. Materazzi, Marco, with ice in his veins. Wasn't it ironic? The same man who whispered those words, now giving Italy the lead. 4-3 Italy. And then Trezeguet. David's run, his concentrated stare, the ball placed on the spot. I watched from the television screen. He struck. The ball flew straight into the crossbar. That metallic crash shattered my soul. My heart stopped. Italy were world champions. And me? I would forever be remembered as the man with the headbutt. I buried my face in my hands. Was it fair? What else could I have done after those words? And yet, the truth remained. I had left my team alone in my final match. In the most critical moment, I lost to my emotions. From outside, the sounds of celebration poured in. Italian cheers, victory songs, the roars of champions. Each note tore deeper into my conscience. When my teammates returned to the dressing room, not a single word was spoken to me. What was there to say? Henry's disappointed face, Vieira's silence, Thuram's sorrowful eyes, they told the whole story. That night, I lay awake in my hotel room for hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment again and again. Could I have done differently? Could I have ignored those words? Now, years later, when I look back, am I regretful? That's not an easy question. Was it wrong? Of course. But I was not just a footballer. I was a man, a father, a son. And after those words, football had given me everything. In 1998 in Paris, the magical night, the Stade de France, my headers, lifting the World Cup. In La Liga, with Real Madrid, the brilliance of the Galacticos, the roar of the Bernabeu, the passion of El Clásico. In the Champions League, the volley against Bayer Leverkusen, Hampden Park, lifting the trophy. In 2000, the European Championship, the golden goal, the stunning comeback against Italy. But that night in Berlin, football took one last thing from me, the dream of a perfect ending. Instead of a fairy tale, I lived a reality, because life is not a fairy tale. Neither is football.